Yo, it's ODB. Welcome back to ODB's Corner. If you saw the thumbnail, I have a video in store for you today to talk a little bit about how Truckin September 78 ties into January 2020, if you can imagine that. So you'll have to stick with me as we jump into this. If you haven't already, please find us through any podcast app. You can just search OLP. Now, in addition to what I'm getting ready to talk about, let me know what you think about the production of this. I am trying a different service, so hopefully it's even more clear, and hopefully you guys appreciate what I'm about to share. Stick with me, if you can, to the end. So on the left, we have September 1978. That was just before I was born. This is Dave Newman's Grand Illusion, a very famous mini truck, in my opinion, way before many people were even involved in this lifestyle. There's a whole video that I've done in the past about Dave's Grand Illusion Datsun, and it has a famous skateboarder we'll see in a moment. He's actually ramping over the truck, ollieing over the truck, if you will, and it's pretty cool. Now, on the right, you have Jamie Wood's 96 Toyota Tacoma, which we'll talk a little bit about. Now, here's the key thing, right? So what's the tie-in between these two trucks? I'm going to share that with you now. It is the first sole mini truck on the left on the cover of Truckin, and the last mini truck on the cover of Truckin Magazine. Now, I may have mentioned this in the past, but it kind of blows my mind. Now, on the left, there were 39 issues before that issue. So what I want to do is I'm going to show you this really quick. You can just ignore the beginning there. I forgot to hit cancel on that. But if you're taking a look here, these are all of the Truckin issues. Now, I have the first set that I'll eventually go through, and that is across the top through 1975. So the second line there, the second one over, that's where it gets into 1976. So the reason why I want to show this, and this is just very brief, is Truckin Magazine in the beginning more looked like, at least on the cover, like an Auto Trader type publication. And we've kind of mentioned that in the past. But if you go through these and you were to count all of these, there's 39 issues before we get to September of 78. Now, I'm going to pause this here as well and show you that not only was Grand Illusion on the cover by itself in September 78, but here, April of 78, it was also on the cover. So the first mini truck to be on the cover of Truckin, and I've looked through these before, I'm pretty certain twice, was Grand Illusion. So pretty cool there. And that kind of rounds it out. I just kind of stopped it, and this is where you see September of 78. Now, on the right, like I said, you have Jamie Wood's 1996 Toyota Tacoma. The magazine shuttered shortly after this, and we'll talk about this. Now, if you were to break this down and you were to go September 1st of 78 through January 1st of 2020, that's 15,097 days, which is incredible to me. 41 years and 4 months. Now, I wanted to make sure I got to this image to show you. This is in the table of contents. Skitch, I always want to say Stitch, but it's Skitch, Skitch Hitchcock. Say that 10 times fast. It was captured by Jeff Ruiz while jumping over Dave Newman's beautiful chopped Grand Illusion Datsun. Now, in my mind, for some reason, I always think of this as a Chevy Love, and every time I look back at this feature, which I do own, I just took this image just a short bit ago, pulled this issue out and took these images, and you basically see here a very highly modified truck. And I'm not going to go all into that aspect of it, because there is another video if you want to learn more about this. I think this is a truck that is like ahead of its time and really deserves to be, in my opinion, the Mini Truck Hall of Fame. Now, of course, they weren't all color back then, so this is the next page you flip to. You can see they even had models back then. Melinda Lackey, I believe is how you say it. And then you see Dave Newman there in Anaheim. Very cool colors, chop top, rear engine. I mean, tons of stuff going on there. Now we jump to, really, that was like a 4-page feature. Here, we're seeing Jamie Wood's 96 Toyota Tacoma. Beautiful feature, and this was done by Jeremy Cook. So Jeremy Cook, been in the industry a very long time. Tip of the cap to him. He's done a lot of cool features and covers and just a lot of cool stuff. I don't really know Jeremy. If he happens to see this, man, shout out, because you've done a lot of awesome stuff over your career. Very cool indoor shoot. And what the table of contents, also known as TOC, says here is we don't run minis on the cover very often. To do so, it has to transcend the scene and what a typical mini truck is. This Wilkes built Toyota most definitely is and does. So pretty amazing stuff here. And then I think that was another image I had taken of the table of contents. Now, this was a super cool feature. I don't know how many people were subscribed and were purchasing Truckin towards the very end. I had pretty much a subscription all the way back to the 90s. There probably is some little gaps in there, but I have a lot of these, as you know, all the way back from, pretty much everything from the 90 forward, with an exception to a few issues here and there. This was at the tail end. There's only 2 issues after this, which is February of 2021 and then March of 2021. And the March has the truck on it, Mike Sneed's. That was the very last issue that was built by Extensive Metalworks. That was on Texas Metal, and of course that is that's for a whole nother video. But this feature to me is awesome because we saw in the table of contents that you basically had that white background. They kind of through either lighting and or post production, they kind of give this purple hue to it that kind of to me really tied into the graphics. Even though you would say, well, there's really no purple, it just gave it a good ambiance. Of course, the sister publication to Mini Truckin. Mini Truckin had shuttered 10 years ago this May. So back in May of 2014, and you can still see that Mini Truckin logo because at that time, they were still running stuff under that brand. This was cool. It was OG, triple OG, and Mike Alexander did the write-up. If you've never seen this feature, and again, I wanted to kind of go about this a little bit different, more of a scan versus, me holding the camera while we're doing it. But you can see just a very cool feature. This is a high-end truck. I have not seen this one in person that I can recall. And, tip of the cap to Jamie Woods for it. Again, that last page, you might have said, hey, that's probably the end of the feature. Surely not. It went on even further, and you can see here it had inside the build on the left side. I know Steve Wilk, he, at the time, I think maybe when this was started, we all know, many of you do, that Steve Wilk worked at Bio Customs. So, he was there maybe when it started, but basically I think he gets a lot of the credit here in this feature. He also mentions John Elway Toyota. He says almost every part replaced has been a factory replacement, and there it's a little bit small to see based upon what I'm looking at here. So what I want to do is kind of compare. So if you think about this, in between these 2 years, 41 years and 4 months. So a lot changed. But to me, one of the key things that I wanted to tie this two together is, again, you got the first mini truck, the sole mini truck that was on the cover of Truckin. Now, again, if you go back, there were other mini trucks on the cover, but it was more of a Auto Trader type that you saw there, cover. But this was the sole first mini truck on the bottom. And then on the top, you see, of course, OG, triple OG. Here, I think I'll play this really quick. This was just a minute ago, just kind of highlighting. Some of these I'll do so that I can post this in social media. And by the way, if you're not following us in social media, please do so. Just look us up, Our Lifestyle Podcast. And we appreciate it. We are your Mini Truckin headquarters. Now I'll see what else I have here. This, I think I was just comparing, because you have that one center main spread on the bottom, which is that color photo, and then comparing it to what Jeremy Cook shot for Jamie's Tacoma. What do you think of these two trucks? Do you think it's amazing that it took 39 issues into the publication for a truck to be on the cover by itself? And I think if we go back, I want to just look at this one more time here. If you go back, now my father, rest in peace to Papa Smurf, he had a van. And as we've always said, the vanning is really kind of the real OGs, right? That's where I think Mini Truckin really kind of spun out of that, because Truckin, the old saying, keep on truckin', that obviously goes all the way back to the early days. But if you look at all of these issues here, every single issue has multiple vehicles on it. Okay, so I've looked back at this before. You've got vans, you've got, insert images, basically not just one sole photo, one sole, featured vehicle on the cover until right here, September of 78, and it was a mini truck. So not only was this the first mini truck by itself on the cover, but if you really look back to that history, the 39 previous issues, it was also the first truck in itself to be on the cover of Truckin. So again, not necessarily that I'm campaigning for this truck, Grand Illusion, to be in the Mini Truck Hall of Fame, but I do believe this is one that when we look back in the history books and we look back in our favorite publications and we go, hey, let's tip our cap to the OGs. This is a guy, right? This is a truck, rather, that we should do, and that was Dave Newman's truck. So if anybody knew him, or if Dave happens to see this, tip of the cap, man. Many of you laid the foundation for what we all love today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bounce back over here if I can. I'm still trying to kind of learn all this stuff. And one of the things that I want to continue to do is bring you guys content in a way that's easily digestible. Not everybody has time to watch 20, 30-minute videos. I get it. Many of you have continued to support what we're doing, and I can't thank you enough. Again, the first issue, the first issue with the mini truck by itself, September 78, a couple months before I was born. And then you fast forward to January of 2020. That's the last truck, or the last mini truck on the cover of Truckin. And in closing, again, Mike Sneed. Mike Sneed's dually, that blue one that you may recall, I think was on the first season of Texas Metal. That truck was the very last truck on the cover of Truckin. That came March of 2020, so 2 months after Jamie's Tacoma graced the cover. So it's unfortunate that the magazine's no longer here. I will close and say this. Thank you so much for the support. Like I've always said, Mini Truckin's coming back. So my understanding is the first issue is going to be May of 2014. And it may, or 2024, which is going to be the 10th anniversary of the magazine shuttering. So tip of the cap to them. I think it's minitruckinmag.net. You could go out there and get a subscription. There's going to be 3 issues planned for 2024. Going forward, I do believe they're going to work to get to quarterly. And then I know some people have said, hey, will they ever get back to a monthly? That's up to the team there at Mini Truckin. But of course, they've got to ramp back up. It is a new, more homegrown, amount of folks that are going to be doing it. So I think there's going to be a lot of cool stuff that will pay homage to so many of the greats like we're doing here at OLP, your Mini Truckin headquarters. Stay on the rise, everyone, and let me know what you think of the new production. I am ODB, and I approve this message. We are here.